Is this good transfer business or bad transfer business from Nottingham Forest? Let's talk about it. Hello guys, and welcome back to yet another video. Today we are talking about Nottingham Forest. All hell seemed to break loose on social media yesterday with Morgan Gibbs-White first being linked to Tottenham, and then it's almost done and dusted at the moment of recording this, subject to a medical at Spurs, and he will be a Spurs player. And not long after Nottingham Forest have sold Anthony Elanga, of course, to Newcastle. Do share your thoughts on all of the latest that is coming out of Nottingham Forest right now. Be sure to drop a like on the video and subscribe as well. And let's get straight into it. Nottingham Forest, how good were they last season? Absolutely fantastic. They went from 17th the season before in the Premier League up to 7th. 10 places climbed. No team, of course, improved by a bigger margin than that in the Premier League last year, and it hasn't gone unnoticed, obviously. They were so good defensively. Milenkovic, Murillo, they were really solid. But even then, they were so good going forwards. Elanga, Gibbs-White, Chris Wood. But let's talk about the first two, Elanga and Gibbs-White. So Elanga went out the door a couple of days ago to Newcastle United. 55 million is the price that Newcastle had to pay to get him off Forest. Do share your thoughts down below in the comments as well about these price tags, because now we've seen Morgan Gibbs-White going to Tottenham for 60 million. Now, of course, Nottingham Forest fans are going to rate him higher than anyone else because he's their player, but even from an outside perspective, I would say he could be worth more than that. I think he's that pivotal to Nottingham Forest. Yes, they're built on a great defensive, but like I say, he's the springboard for them going forwards, and he's been great over the last couple of years, and probably my personal favourite Nottingham Forest player. He's now going to Tottenham. I mean, yes, there's quite a few people saying, hang on a minute, why is he going from 7th place Forest to 17th place Tottenham? Last season wasn't exactly a normal Premier League season when it came to Tottenham and Manchester United. That's no discredit to Forest, by the way. They deserve to finish 7th based on their own merits. They were absolutely fantastic. But Tottenham Hotspur are not your average 17th place Premier League team. They are going to have Champions League football. They managed to get Champions League football. Forest didn't. And of course, Tottenham will have more money in terms of wages to offer to Morgan Gibbs-White. So while some people might say it's a massive step down, if we're being realistic, do we see Forest finishing 10 places ahead of Tottenham again? No. I mean, they could still finish ahead of them, but 10 places, I don't think so. So Spurs fans, I think this is a really good signing. If we're going to talk about it from a Tottenham perspective, I think you've got a really good player on your hands. But let's talk about the Nottingham Forest perspective, because to lose such good players, two of them, in such close proximity in the transfer window, will set off a few alarm bells. And I am seeing lots of Nottingham Forest fans on social media saying, oh, what's the point in us being in Europe next season? We're going to get relegated. I mean, obviously, some of it is an overreaction, but I do obviously share some concerns that the Forest fans have right here, right now. But in terms of getting the answer to the question, is this good or bad transfer business from Nottingham Forest, then I don't think we're actually going to know the answer for a few months. I mean, first of all, we need to see who Forest bring in, the transfer. I mean, we're literally in the middle of the transfer window. It feels like deadline day considering how fast this Gibbs-White deal went through, but Nottingham Forest still have plenty of time to bring in players. And then once we've got into the first few games of next season, then we see, are Forest better than they were last season? Next season, yes or no? I mean, I personally think you look at Nottingham Forest's first few games next season, it's already going to be a telling first couple months, because I think Forest have got a real opportunity to start strong. Yes, it's the Premier League once again. No game is easy. I'll always say this, but it could be harder at the start for Forest. And if they get off to a slow start, considering they're not playing many of the so-called Big Six clubs at the start, that would maybe give me a few concerns, not in terms of relegation or anything like that, but in terms of being able to live up to the same levels as last season. Like I say, look, Forest, I thought inevitably were going to sell a couple of players. I mean, right here, right now, though, it is worth saying that Forest could still sell one or two of their key players, and then the Forest fans will be feeling even worse than they do right now, even though they think it's the worst situation ever right now. Like I say, it's going to depend on who they bring in. I think the main thing for next season is building up squad depth now, because they've got European football. Now, right here, right now, as well, we don't actually know if they're going to be in the Conference League or the Europa League. I think we're going to get an answer to that very soon because of obviously Lyon, They didn't get relegated in the French League, and then there's the risk that Palace can't play in the Europa League, which could bump Forest into the Europa League. Either way, they are going to have some European football, and it's going to be nothing like a lot of these Forest players have had before in terms of now Saturday, Thursday, or Sunday, Thursday, should I say, on a regular basis. It's like being back in the Championship for the Forest fans who can relate to that, playing midweek games so often. So I do think squad depth does need to be improved at Forest. But I think the concern that Forest fans have right now is, will they have a better starting 11 next season than they did last season? They could have better squad depth, but will they have a better starting 11? And right here, right now, I mean, obviously no, but we don't know who they're going to bring in. I mean, it does remind me, of course, we always talk about this when it comes to the Championship, that some teams that overachieve, should we say, in terms of maybe getting into the playoffs, and then not getting promoted, their best players get pulled away. And if you take Coventry City as an example, when we got to the playoff final with Victor Gyökeres, Gustavo Hamer, look at what those two have gone on to now, especially Gyökeres. I think he was linked with Forest at one point. They got taken away. But Coventry did improve the squad depth, but the starting 11 maybe wasn't as good, or we didn't have the same good individuals. I know it's maybe not the best comparison because the Premier League's very different, but you get my point in terms of Forest will be perceived as a team that overachieved last season, and maybe the general expectations from the mass of people right now is that they won't be in the top 7 again. Trust in Nuno though, like I say, I mean, we've spoken about it before when he was at Wolves, back-to-back 7th place finishes. I don't know how many big sales they had going out between those two seasons. Maybe that's the difference this time, possibly. And obviously Spurs and Man United are going to be so hungry to break into that top 7 after such terrible finishes last season. I mean, I don't necessarily know about Man United. Maybe Tottenham could improve because they've now got the Champions League football. But going back to Forest, the final point I will say is it's still a massively attractive club. Forest have still got 2 Champions Leagues over Tottenham. That's something they're always going to have unless Tottenham go and win the Champions League next season. And Forest are in Europe next season. Yes, it might only be the Conference League or the Europa League. I mean, there is a big difference between those two. But still, either way, a lot of players will want to play for a team playing in Europe. And bear in mind, I know Forest fans would have loved to have been in the Champions League. Do I think they could have won the Champions League? No. I mean, look at PSG absolutely ripping everyone to pieces. I have seen plenty of Nottingham Forest fans saying, oh, we're not ready for the Champions League. But when it comes to the Europa League or Conference League, I think there's a real chance they could win one of those two. Maybe as a result they might regress in the Premier League a little bit, but it's up to Nuno. What's he going to focus on? I'm sure Marinakis will want to see Forest get quite deep into the European competition that they are playing in next season. That's another thing, by the way, Marinakis, love him or hate him. A lot of people don't like him, but I personally think he's very ambitious, and the majority of the Forest fans are behind him. And the Forest fans are another thing. You've got an ambitious owner, a club on the rise in my opinion, a very passionate fan base, a very historic football club, and European football. Yes, it's difficult to see players going out the door like Elanga and Gibbs-White, and I think as well I will mention that Gibbs-White, there is a sell-on clause. Wolves might get a couple million out of this, but think of the money that Forest now have, and if they can reinvest this money wisely, there's no reason they can't have another good season next season. But like I said, I understand why the Forest fans feeling a bit mixed on this right now. Share your thoughts, drop a like, make sure to subscribe, and let's see what happens next at the City Ground. Take care everyone, peace out.